On a sweltering August day in 2021, Jonathan Lamb, a former Daystar TV executive, received a frantic call from his wife, Susie. Their 5-year-old daughter was alone with Pete, a trusted family member, in a beach house during Daystar's executive retreat in Miramar Beach. Susie described Pete's eyes turning black and his zombie-like demeanor as he followed their daughter upstairs. When Jonathan burst into the room, he found his daughter naked and Pete stammering apologies, claiming he was so sorry repeatedly. The incident, initially dismissed as a misunderstanding, would unravel a web of secrecy within one of the world's largest Christian networks. The Lamb's daughter had already shown alarming behavioral changes months before this incident. She confided in Susie about being touched inappropriately, using her hands to demonstrate the abuse. Though the family initially suspected someone at her school, they later realized no male staff worked there. Suspicion shifted to Pete after he admitted the girl had walked in on him naked during a prior vacation. The child's fear of visiting Daystar and hiding from Pete became impossible to ignore, yet the family hesitated to confront the truth publicly. Daystar TV, co-founded by Jonathan's late father, Marcus Lamb, operates over 100 global stations and earns $100 million annually. Despite their influence, the Lambs face pressure to protect the network's image. Jonathan's refusal to sign an NDA after Marcus's death from COVID-19 in 2021 led to his demotion and eventual firing. Susie was abruptly removed from co-hosting The Green Room, their family show. The beach house incident became a catalyst for their decision to break ranks and expose what they call a culture of silence. The Lamb family's control over Daystar TV is absolute. Jonathan's sisters, Rachel Lamb Brown, Director of Communications, and Rebecca Lamb Weiss, producer, hold key roles, creating a dynastic hierarchy. This insular structure allowed alleged abuses to fester. When Rebecca and her husband warned Jonathan about Pete's inappropriate behavior with children, their concerns were brushed aside. Pete, often tasked with supervising kids during filming, operated with unchecked access, raising red flags that went unaddressed. Jonathan and Susie described working for Daystar as emotionally devastating. Loyalty to the Lamb name overshadowed moral obligations. After Marcus's death, Joni Lamb, his widow, assumed presidency and allegedly prioritized protecting the network over accountability. Jonathan claims he was demoted for resisting NDAs that would silence him, a move corroborated by a leaked board meeting recording. His eventual firing for poor judgment mirrored Susie's abrupt removal from their show, signaling systemic retaliation against dissent. The family's beach house retreat, a symbol of Daystar's elite culture, became ground zero for the scandal. While executives networked, Pete exploited his proximity to the Lamb's children. Susie recalls her daughter returning from sleepovers at Pete's house withdrawn and anxious, a stark contrast to her usual vivacity. Yet, confronting Pete risked fracturing the family and the empire they built. The Lamb's dilemma: protect their child or protect Daystar's billion-dollar legacy. 8 months before the beach house incident, the Lamb's daughter first disclosed abuse. Susie, armed with her child's haunting demonstration of what happened, grew suspicious of Pete. Jonathan confronted Pete privately, but Daystar's leadership dismissed the claims. Instead of support, the couple faced gaslighting and isolation. A board member allegedly told Jonathan, "This could ruin us all," pressuring him to stay silent. The leaked recording of a Daystar board meeting reveals executives debating Jonathan's loyalty. One voice insists, "We can't let this go public. It'll destroy everything Marcus built." Joni Lamb's leadership is criticized for prioritizing damage control over justice. Jonathan's demotion to a managerial role stripped him of influence, while Susie's firing severed their platform to speak out. The network's legal team reportedly threatened defamation lawsuits if they went public. Despite Daystar's intimidation tactics, Jonathan and Susie shared evidence with the Roy's Report, an independent outlet investigating religious abuses. Their testimony exposes a pattern of enabling predators to protect institutional power. They care more about donations than children, Susie stated. The Lambs now face a moral reckoning. Their fight for transparency pits them against their own family and the empire they once championed. Former Daystar employees and insiders began reaching out to Jonathan and Susie after their story went public, sharing eerily similar accounts of abuse cover-ups. One ex-producer revealed that staff were instructed to pray away concerns about Pete's behavior, with leadership dismissing allegations as spiritual attacks. Another whistleblower described a culture of fear. If you question the Lambs, you were labeled a troublemaker and pushed out. These testimonies paint a damning picture of systemic negligence, where protecting the network's reputation trumps safeguarding children. Among the most shocking revelations was a 2019 incident involving another family. A mother whose child attended Daystar-sponsored events reported Pete for inappropriate touching, only to be told by Joni Lamb's inner circle, "We'll handle this internally." No police report was filed, and the family was pressured to sign an NDA in exchange for a settlement. The child's father, a former donor, told the Roy's Report, "They bought our silence. We thought we were doing God's work, but we enabled a monster." Jonathan and Susie's decision to go public emboldened others. A leaked email from Daystar's legal team warned staff to avoid all contact with the Lambs and threatened termination for discussing the scandal. Despite this, a current employee anonymously shared documents showing Pete remained on payroll for months after the beach house incident. He was quietly moved to a consultant role, the source claimed. They didn't cut ties, they just hid him. As the scandal gained traction, Joni Lamb, Daystar's president, released a brief statement calling the allegations baseless attacks from disgruntled former associates. She invoked her late husband's legacy, urging viewers to pray for unity. Behind the scenes, however, Daystar's legal team launched an aggressive counteroffensive. Subpoenas were issued to journalists, and YouTube videos discussing the scandal were flagged for violating community guidelines. Critics argue this mirrors tactics used by other megachurches to bury abuse claims. Insiders revealed Joni's leadership style as ruthlessly pragmatic. A former board member recounted a private meeting where she allegedly said, "Satan wants to destroy this ministry, and we won't let him." Loyalists were rewarded. Dissenters like Jonathan were exiled. Sermons preached during the scandal focused on spiritual warfare, framing critics as agents of chaos. Meanwhile, Daystar's donation drive surged, with Joni pleading for funds to combat false narratives. The Lamb's daughter became a pawn in this battle. Daystar's attorneys demanded full access to her medical records, claiming her trauma was fabricated. Susie tearfully recounted, "They called us unfit parents and threatened to sue for custody." Psychological evaluations later confirmed the child exhibited textbook signs of sexual abuse, including night terrors and regressive behavior. Yet Joni's camp continues to weaponize faith, framing the Lamb's outcry as rebellion against God's authority. The Lamb's daughter, now 7, undergoes intensive therapy to cope with her trauma. Her drawings, shared anonymously with investigators, depict shadowy figures and barred windows. "She told me, 'The bad man is still in my dreams,'" Susie revealed. School officials documented her sudden aggression toward male teachers and fear of bathrooms, a common trigger for abuse survivors. Despite this, Daystar supporters have harassed the family online, accusing them of exploiting their child for fame. Jonathan and Susie's fight for justice has isolated them from their own family. Rachel and Rebecca Lamb, once close sisters-in-law, now publicly endorsed Joni's leadership. At a recent Daystar gala, Rachel declared, "We stand united against lies." Privately, however, Rebecca confided to a friend, "I'm trapped. If I side with Jonathan, I lose my career. The family's rift underscores the toxic loyalty demanded by the Lamb dynasty, where blood ties are secondary to institutional survival. Faith communities globally are grappling with this case. A pastor who invited Jonathan to speak at his church faced backlash from congregants who called the Lambs divisive, yet survivors' advocates hail their courage. This isn't just about Daystar, it's about every child silenced by powerful institutions, said a spokesperson for RINN. The Lambs now work with lawmakers to draft legislation mandating abuse reporting in religious organizations, challenging the clergy exemption loophole that shields predators. Daystar's $100 million annual revenue, largely from viewer donations, fuels its legal and PR machinery. Tax filings show six-figure payouts to crisis management firms and private investigators tasked with discrediting the Lambs. Donors, unaware of the scandal, are bombarded with emotional appeals featuring Joni praying over attacks from the enemy. One viral segment showed her weeping while holding a Bible, urging supporters to stand with God's network. Behind the spiritual facade, Daystar operates like a corporate giant. Its real estate portfolio includes luxury retreats and a private jet once used by Marcus Lamb. Leaked budgets revealed $2 million spent on reputation management in 2023 alone. Meanwhile, Jonathan and Susie struggle financially after losing their Daystar salaries. A GoFundMe for their legal fees was mysteriously shut down, with the platform citing unverified claims, a move the Lambs attribute to Daystar's influence. The network's board, stacked with Joni loyalists, approved a controversial hush fund to settle abuse claims quietly. Former accountant Maria Gonzalez testified. Every month, $50,000 was transferred to an offshore account labeled Ministry Outreach. These funds allegedly paid off families and silenced victims. Gonzalez was fired after questioning the transactions, but her evidence is now part of an ongoing IRS investigation into Daystar's finances. Daystar's media arm censors all criticism. Clips of Jonathan and Susie's interviews are banned on their platforms, replaced with segments praising Joni's steadfast leadership. A producer revealed, "We're told to air reruns of Marcus' old sermons about family values whenever the scandal trends online." The network even created a fake documentary framing the Lambs as fallen angels influenced by demonic forces. Independent outlets like the Roys report faced relentless pushback. Founder Julie Roys received death threats after publishing the Lamb story, and her website was hit by cyber attacks traced to Daystar-linked IP addresses. "They're trying to bankrupt me with legal fees," Roys said. Despite this, her reporting has sparked a grassroots movement. Hashtags like hashtag Justice for Daystar Kids and hashtag Expose the Lambs trended globally, with survivors sharing stories under religious hashtags to bypass Daystar's filters. Public opinion is shifting. Once devoted viewers now flood Daystar's social media with questions about the scandal. Joni's recent live prayer stream was hijacked by comments like, "Where's the $2 million hush fund?" The network's ratings have dipped 30% since the allegations surfaced, and advertisers are quietly pulling out. Yet Daystar's core base remains loyal, illustrating the chilling power of faith weaponized against facts. Despite overwhelming evidence, Pete remains free. Florida's statute of limitations for child sexual abuse cases allows prosecution until the victim turns 21, but the Lambs face hurdles. Daystar's attorneys have blocked access to critical witnesses, and key evidence, like security footage from the beach house, was accidentally erased. A detective on the case confessed off-record, "This is bigger than us. Politicians, donors, they don't want this trial." NDAs have proven Daystar's most potent weapon. At least 12 families have signed settlements forbidding them from speaking to law enforcement. "We were told, if you go to the police, we'll sue you into bankruptcy," said one father. Legal experts argue these agreements are unenforceable in criminal cases, but terrified survivors rarely challenge them. Jonathan and Susie's refusal to sign an NDA is unprecedented, and their last stand for accountability. The Lambs are now pushing for Marsy's Law, named after their daughter, which would criminalize NDAs in abuse cases and mandate clergy reporting. Opponents, including powerful religious lobbies, claim it violates religious freedom. But momentum grows. 5 states have launched hearings, and the hashtag Pass Marsy's Law has rallied survivors nationwide. This isn't about us anymore, Jonathan said. It's about protecting every kid sitting in a pew right now, scared to speak up. The Daystar scandal has ignited a global debate about power in religious institutions. Megachurch attendance has dropped 15% since the story broke, with younger congregants demanding transparency. "We won't donate until leaders are vetted like teachers," said a 24-year-old former donor. Survivors from other ministries, Catholic, Evangelical, Pentecostal, have united under the banner Break the Silence, hosting rallies outside Daystar's headquarters. Jonathan and Susie's fight has cost them everything: family, income, and their place in the community. Yet they've found purpose in advocacy. "If our pain saves one child, it's worth it," Susie said. Their memoir, Unsilenced, topped Amazon's bestseller list despite Daystar's attempts to ban it. Proceeds fund therapy for abuse survivors, a stark contrast to Joni's opulent lifestyle. The final question lingers: will Daystar collapse, or will faith blind followers to the truth? As investigations deepen, the Lambs warn, this is just the beginning. Their journey, from insiders to outcasts, exposes a universal truth. No institution is too holy to harbor evil, and no child's voice should ever be silenced for power.